Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. For me, it is Saturday night, March the 29th, and it's been an eventful week, a couple weeks actually. Things have happened. I mean, it's as usual, doing a bunch of things and trying to keep my eyes peeled on several things. And just basically trying to trying to wrap my head around the state of the world as it is in general, the state of the gaming world anyway. So many things. This will be a normal length podcast today, because I have done some research and I do have a bit of information to convey. So I won't shortchange you today. I try to make it at least beyond a half an hour, so that for those of you like me who listen to podcasts while you're exercising, it'll be you'll be able to get your full 30 minutes in. So a couple things have taken place. I've been doing some live streaming, not as much this week as I've done in previous weeks, but still doing it. I was on a live stream last night, playing some more, or Friday night it would be for you guys, playing some more Deus Ex. Got a decent way through it. I keep forgetting to do the quick save, so I end up dying and then having to replay a whole section. Twitch is kind of funny about that stuff, about the live streaming stuff, and I noticed this even today. Saturday I streamed a little bit from the Livecraft Mine server, and it's funny to see how things transpire on Twitch. It's like, I'll be sitting there and I don't have multiple monitors, which is like a no-no for people who are doing streaming, because you have tons and tons of windows open. But I have the windows arranged enough that I can see like the first two lines of chat, and I have, Hex Chat installed, and I, connect directly to the Twitch IRC chat so that I can see right in there and run all the commands I need for Nightbot and all that stuff. And oftentimes, but that's down at the bottom of my screen, and then I have, Minecraft up towards the top of my screen, or whatever I'm playing. And it's, you're focused on the game, and you don't necessarily notice that somebody came in on the stream and is talking to you in the chat. And Twitch is a funny place, man. If you don't catch that person within the first 10 seconds of them entering the chat, and acknowledge them within that first 10 seconds, they are gone. Like, they pop in and pop out like nothing. I mean, I can't say that they're in there long enough to even have the video load up for all I know. But yeah, it's a funny thing, man. And it's even harder because you can't verbally acknowledge them. You have to actually jump in real fast in the chat, because you're 30 seconds behind. Your stream is 30 seconds behind. Whew, wow. Let's say that right. 30 seconds behind what you're actually doing, right? So you say something in a stream, and it takes 30 seconds for it to actually get out to, or more, to get out to the people who are watching. So it's you have to sort of jump in chat right away, or else they're gone before you even acknowledge their presence. But it's cool. I was streaming for a couple hours, longer than I really wanted to stream, but I figured, there's a lot of videos I need to record today, and it's getting kind of late, so we'll see how many I manage to get out or get recorded. But I stayed on for a little bit longer than I probably would have normally, but because I'm out in the middle of nowhere. But someone did jump on a little bit later towards the end of the stream, a YouTuber, and they asked some good questions about the server, and I pointed them at the whitelist application. So hopefully we have another member, hopefully, of the Livecraft Mine server, possibly. We'll see. And I also sent, after I got off the stream, I also sent a tweet out to Sir Fappy just to make sure that he saw it come through, because I don't know how often, you don't get that many, so it's not like you're monitoring it constantly. So hopefully that will work out well. And along those same lines, a lot of people on the server have been asking me, just through direct messages usually, they've been like, hey, I'd like to do a collab with you. And I would love to do that too. I've gotten it actually from quite a few people on the server that I play with who have wanted to do some kind of collab with me. And that's great. I would love to do it. In fact, I'm trying to think of how best to do it, because my recording times are all over the place, and there's no fixed time when I'm recording stuff. Some nights I can't be bothered. It was a rough day at work or whatever, and I'm just tired, and it would translate to just a very tired recording, and I try not to do it when I'm that tired. Other nights I need to get some editing done because I'm usually behind on my editing, like I am right now, which is why there's only been one video today on Saturday when I really wanted to have two. So that's a thing. Try to make up for that on Sunday when you see this come out, if at all possible. We'll see. And yeah, and then so just as a general thing, and I'm thinking I'll probably just put a post up on the Livecraft Mine server, since Reddit, I should say, just to let people know, because I've gotten quite a few of those questions. Really, honestly, the only answer I can give is that I record occasionally Monday through Friday after 7 p.m. but before 10 p.m. Between 7 and 10 on as Eastern Daylight Time, which is -4 hours GMT. And from that, you'll just have to do your conversions. But those are generally the times I do things. It's hard to lock that down because it's sometimes I have to do editing, as I say. So some nights I'll come home from work and they'll just be editing all night long just to get things done, get videos ready to go and upload it. So I'm not always recording Monday through Friday every day. Saturday, I've been trying as much as possible. I mean, life has a way of getting in the way, but I've been trying as much as possible to dedicate my entire Saturday to just recording and just getting things out there. I do some editing. Obviously, I do editing of Cube World here, of Cube Ramblings, because that needs to go out on Sunday, and I can only record it on Saturday because, well, it's time sensitive, right? I gotta wait for stuff to happen so I have news to report on, and then I can't wait too long to report on it because then it's old news, which a lot of it is old news anyway. But it's a matter of I can't pre-record these, unless I turn them into full on podcast where I just talk about my own stuff without dealing with time sensitive materials. But there's not enough going on in my own life for that to ever be a thing that I could do. I'm just not that I don't have that much going on. It's mostly games that I deal with. So given that, I've been trying to devote my Saturdays to that whenever possible. Sundays are my, hey, I gotta do the normal chores that I've put off for the week. So I do occasionally do a recording on there, usually pub crawl, but for the most part, it's mostly me just doing normal things like, buying food and stuff like that, that I haven't done at all at any other point during the week because of work and all that fun stuff. Because YouTube is just a hobby for me right now. I don't make any money off of it. In fact, I'm in the red as far as it goes. But it's, that's what you do for a hobby, right? You put money out and you do it to the best of your abilities, to the best of your finances. And then, at some point, maybe it'll be something more. I don't think it'll ever be a career. I won't be a like a Vintage Beef or anything like that, or a Kurt J. Mac, where I have enough coming in, or Captain Sparkles for that matter, where I have enough coming in to do it as a full-time thing, because obviously I'm not even partnered, so there is no money coming in. But I probably will never get to that point, especially considering that my career, I still enjoy programming, and that is my main thing in life, and I make decent money doing it. So YouTube would have to be, this YouTube thing would have to be twice decent money for it to be a viable alternative. And from what I understand, the YouTubers, they make enough to live off of, but they don't make, they ain't making quite the level that you might think that they're making, or that, for that matter, Social Blade has randomly generated. It's funny, you go on Social Blade and you look at one of your popular YouTubers, and it's like, yeah, Social Blade estimates that this YouTuber makes between $65,000 and $280,000 a year. It's like, that's a pretty big gap. That's a pretty damn big gap. I mean, 60 grand is livable. 280 is like almost Silver Spoon-ish level. So that's as wild ass a guess as you could possibly probably make in it, as far as that goes. But that's because everybody has their own contracts, right? It's like very few of those bigger YouTubers are doing the normal cuts that other people in their organization might be getting. So a lot of them have probably negotiated their own contracts. So yeah, that's why the guesses are so wild there, because it really depends on what they've done. So yeah, as far as the collabs go, I want to try to do it where I can be available on Saturdays to do that, because I know a lot of people who want to collab with me are, in the overseas, and not, for that matter, just not in my time zone. And Saturdays seem like the best time for that, because then I can get up at a relatively early time and do my thing, and that would be a sort of a normal or reasonable time for the collab partner. So that I'll probably put a post on Reddit, on the Livecraft Mine Reddit, about that, just so that people understand that I'm not ignoring them. It's just that I have these weird, funky times. You know what I mean? It's a hobby for me. I'm not. A lot of them are college guys who have some time, random times during the day when they can do things. And I'm just not that person. I work. I work quite a few hours. I up at 5 a.m. and don't get back home until about 6:37 at night. So yeah, it's not an easy thing for me to find time sometimes for that stuff, which is why I do mostly just single player recording stuff. But on those same lines, since I'm talking about the collab stuff, a collab video went up today, Saturday, that I recorded with the Gamer Beans last Sunday. I think I recorded it just prior to recording Cube World, if I remember correctly. So I might have mentioned it in the last episode, and if I did, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. But yeah, it's did a little collab with them they created a custom minigame map in vanilla Minecraft called in one of the snapshots. They're calling it Bomb Blitz. It was a lot of fun. It's like a take on Bomberman, where you run around. As you run around a map, a custom built map, it You leave TNT behind you, and the goal is to basically kill the other players on the other teams with those bombs before they can get to you. And then you just rack up score that way. And there's about six different maps and all kinds of different what would you call them? Alterations you can make. So you can change the floor of the map to like soul sand if you want, or you can give everybody blindness, and then which is a barrel of laughs for YouTube. If you looked at the video, makes for a rough YouTube video, but it was actually a lot of fun, quite a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun with those guys. They are awesome stand-up people, and would love to collab with them again if they ever want to deal with me. And that's a thing. I really enjoyed my time on there, and I was able to get the video down to just under 25 minutes. We recorded for about 46 minutes, and then there was a little bit of prep time before that and afterwards where we kind of sat around and talked for a little bit. Not much, but just, just a little chitty chat. And so I was able to get that down to 25 minutes, which is awesome, because that is like to a YouTuber, 25 minutes is like the golden the golden god of videos, because it seems like that is where you get the most retention, because people will look at a 25-minute video and go, okay, I got 25 minutes to spend on that. But they'll look at maybe a 35 to 40-minute video and they'll go, hey, I could watch 2 videos in that time frame. So you try whenever you can, like when you're doing these long running series, you try to get them to 25 minutes. Or even 30 minutes. 30 minutes is kind of pushing it sometimes, but 25 is usually seems to be the point that you want to be at. And that's what I've been trying to do with a lot of my series, like Livecraft Mine and everything else. Trying to keep them to like 25 minutes whenever possible. It really depends. I know that there are a segment of people out there who would look at it and go, hey, I would really like a longer video. But it seems like even with some of the more well-established YouTubers, that even when they do the occasional long video, their views aren't quite there, their likes aren't quite there. So, it's one of those things. You just kind of have to balance it. It's one of the reasons why I like Twitch a lot, is because I can just go on there and I can stay on there for 3-4 hours. Just straight, just doing something, just doing what I need to do. And, people just jump in and jump off as they can. The problem is, of course, people will jump in and jump off before you can even say hi to them. They'll come in for 10 seconds and then they're gone. But it's, and the other thing of that is, it's nice from a sandbox game perspective, because I can do all that stuff that YouTubers kind of, or people watching you on YouTube kind of expect you to do off camera, like the boring stuff. You can do just on Twitch and say, look, here, I'm just going to stream, and, you can stick around and chat with me, or just, do your own thing. It don't matter. So it's a nice trade-off, I think. I enjoy it. Trying to do more on there, obviously, as I mentioned, I know I mentioned this in the last episode, is like, it's very hard for me to schedule live streaming stuff, just because of the amount of effort it takes and whether or not I'm in the right mindset or mood. That's the one kerfuffle, if you will, about streaming, is that when you do YouTube, you try to record things when you're in a really good mood, because you want people to be happy and hear you as happy. You don't want to be like a snarly wildebeest type of person, unless that is your shtick that you do. But for most people, they'd rather listen to somebody who's pleasant and happy and jovial and all those other bubbly words. My problem in that regard is that I am always happy and jovial and bubbly. It's just you can't tell because my voice is very monotone. It has always been monotone, and I don't know how to fix it. It's just one of those things. How does one fix a deeply monotone voice? I have no idea. I try to compensate by laughing often so that you know that I am in a good mood, but it's which is, as I was editing the Gamer Beans, the Bomb Blitz video, I realized that I spent at least 30 minutes out of the 47 minutes that had been recorded just laughing. There was no other commentary besides me just laughing, and I don't know if that. Sometimes I feel like that is not the best, the most compelling or entertaining thing to hear, because it sounds like I'm sort of on drugs at times. But I assure you I'm not. It's the only way I can convey that I'm in a good mood because of my monotone voice. But that is a thing, and we have. I don't recall ever seeing these types of buildings before. This is new for me. I think, yeah, because all the buildings in other cities were much lighter colors. So this is pretty cool. All right, we're still seeing new stuff in Cube World. This is always a good thing. And we are in a new biome. I forgot to mention that in the beginning here, that I was going to seek out a different biome because I think we thoroughly exhausted our jungle biome that we were in. And this looks like a regular, sort of biome that I was in, in the first biome that I spawned in, but it's actually colder. It's like 7 degrees Celsius according to the thing up in the corner there. So it is a slightly different biome. It's just kind of another take on that first biome that I spawned in. And this city apparently only has a trade and a pet district. It didn't have anything else, which is interesting. Again, something else I've never seen. So, hey, we've got some good things going on here. Still seeing new stuff, and to all those people who are like, yeah, I got 10 hours of gameplay in, and then I hated the game. Hey, look, I'm numerous hours in, and I'm still finding new stuff. So, sometimes it takes a little bit of patience and not trying to grind your way through something really quickly and say, oh, I'm done with it. No more. Which is the other reason why I have so many series going on. It's just I am very afraid. Like, I have that problem where you play a game, like say Saints Row 4, for instance. I have that game. I played it. I have not finished it. I played, for several weeks straight, where I just played, several hours a day just for a few weeks straight of it. Still didn't get through all of it, but I got through a good portion of it. And I just get tired of it, and I just don't want to go back to it. Even though there's still a lot more to do, you still have to get to the end of the game. I just kind of said, yeah, you know what? I'm done. And that's the thing I've been trying to avoid here on YouTube, because you don't really want to do that often, unless you come across a truly terrible game that you can't bear to deal with. You really want to finish what you start. And so to that end, I've been switching off. I have so many series going on, because then I can record about an hour or two of something, and then I don't have to record it again for another week or two, usually. And that gives me that respite that I need, so that I don't get burned out by any one thing. Because, I've had a couple series, Minecraft series, that I just burned out on. I said, you know what, I don't want to do these anymore. The FTB series, the original one that I did, and then the one episode that I managed to get out of Sunrise, it was a good concept. I liked the concept. The problem is that I was fed up with Minecraft at that point, and it's one of those things where I'm trying not to not to get to that point again with Minecraft. That's why I've been sort of only doing it once a week, and really just doing it on a multiplayer server gives it a new, fresh life to it, and also making sure I switch off to other games as well along the way. So that's kind of the way I've been approaching it. But here I am just rambling on about ramblings, which I guess that's why I call it Cube Ramblings. I have quite a few things listed on my notebook here of things I want to cover. First of all, let's cover some of the things that I did not get to last week with Kickstarter. We had a couple Kickstarter projects complete successfully. The Wing Commander orchestral music recording thing, that pulled one out right at the end there. They ended up with $42,113 out of the $35,000 that they needed to have a successful Kickstarter. That was with 588 backers. What that means is there's some perks that George threw in there, but what it boils down to is that there's going to be an additional 45 minutes of music. Some of it orchestral, some of it just from his own recording studio, and some sampled. That's the word I was looking for. So that is awesome. I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait for that CD. I actually, it's the only Kickstarter project that I can recall that I've actually increased my pledge on, because I wanted to get that additional music, and I didn't pledge enough to get it initially, so I bumped my pledge up for that. So that is terrific. That will be, I can't wait for that. I'm a big fan of video game music. If you watch any of my streams from the Livecraft Mine server, you know I stream OC Remix while I'm playing on there. I just enjoy the heck out of that music and all the revisions that people do to it. Galactic Princess. We haven't heard much from them lately, but their Kickstarter was successful. They didn't make much more beyond what the last update that I did. But they ultimately came out of it with 34,180 pounds out of the 20,000 that they needed. There were 2,108 backers, so quite a lot of people are interested in it, and I can't wait to see what becomes of that. Again, it's been kind of quiet since then, and the last part of the Kickstarter was a little bit quiet as well, but that was, I guess, to be expected since they had already hit their goal. And there was no new stretch goals hit, so that is a thing. Also, what else on the Kickstarter here? Planets Cube, just an update on that. They are at $185,374 out of the $250,000 they need to raise for their Kickstarter to be successful. There's only 7 days left, so they've got a significant jump to make. Of course, that last 48 is the golden 48, where you get a bunch of people who get notifications from Kickstarter that they haven't contributed yet. So that usually is the deciding factor. So hopefully they get what they get that last push there. I'll be happy to see that come down. I noticed too that a couple YouTubers also backed it. Good was one that I noticed, and a few others. So hopefully they will get their the necessary last-minute push that they need, because that would be awesome to see it. I'm really curious to see it. It looks more like a It looks more like a Cube World thing, sort of, than a Minecraft thing. So I'll be very happy to see that, as you can imagine, since I'm still playing Cube World. One of the few people still playing Cube World. Proven Lands. Now, I mentioned this last week, this Kickstarter that was going on. This is like the 2D top-down esque survival game, survival sandbox game. They actually canceled their Kickstarter this week. They just were not getting the responses that they were looking for. The amount of money that they had raised was very small. The last tally I had was 22,257 pounds, and they needed 299,000 pounds, and there was 20 days left at that time. And they just finally said, you know what, we're going to throw in the towel. It's not working out. We got to rethink how we're doing our marketing strategy for this Kickstarter. So hopefully they will try again later and actually, figure out what it is that they need to figure out in order to make it a successful one. In addition, I stumbled across a Kickstarter that had already been successful, but is still going on, and I saw it and I went, oh, I need to contribute to this. And you can still contribute to it. It's called Dragon Fin Soup. It's right now they're at $58,079, and their goal was $24,000, so they've well surpassed it. They've also surpassed their first stretch goal, which I'll get to in a minute. But there's 12 days left on that, and you might want to, if this is, once I describe to you what this game is, you might want to jump over on Kickstarter and get in on it, even though they've already hit their goal. It's an RPG, turn-based RPG with roguelike elements. So, in other words, much like you would expect a roguelike game to be, you every time you move a tile, all the enemies move. But they don't move in between, right? So it's the whole world stops until you do make your moves, and then the world continues for that turn. So it is fully turn-based, but it's got a SNES aesthetic to it, and also has a bit of a what is that? What is the name of that game? I can't think of the name of it, but it's got sort of a little bit of a steampunk-ish aesthetic, sort of, in some of the weapons, but the weapons kind of they kind of span several genres. Like, I think the main character is pictured with like one of those like a musket gun that's got sort of auto-loading, like the gears and stuff on it. And the idea behind it is that it takes place in sort of, it's a fairy tale-ish land. So it takes its elements from fairy tales and twists them, like the old, like Alice type things, where they just twist the characters around to make them a little bit different than the fairy tale characters that they've taken their inspiration from. So your main protagonist, for instance, is like a take on Little Red Riding Hood, only much more badass and drunkard version of that. And it's set up to on several platforms. It's set to go to. It's going to be PC, PS4, Vita, and the PS3. So they're going to work on all those versions. I believe the PC version is the first one they're working on now. The other ones I think are stretch goals that have been met, but I don't think they'll be the initial. I don't think there'll be a release on all of those at once. I could be wrong at that, but usually that's the case, that one comes after the other. It's also been greenlit already, so it'll be on Steam when it's ready. And you can do, there's two modes to it. There's a story mode and a survival mode. Let me see if I can change my page here. Very good. I'm getting good at doing that while still controlling the game here. The survival mode is what you would expect. It's permadeath. You start out with limited supplies. You start out in a level 1 forest, and from what I understand, it's sort of like a biome-like thing where you as you expand further out from that level 1 area, things get harder and more difficult, and more enemies and all that stuff. It's all procedurally generated, so all the dungeons are procedurally generated, all the loot and all that stuff. And then there's the story mode, right, where you go through the story that has been laid out, and it's got the whole day-night cycle in there that it puts in. It's got weather effects. The story itself takes place in a world that is on the. So how do you explain this? It's the entire world that the story mode takes place in is contained on the back of a giant celestial turtle. Sort of godlike turtle that floats through the stars, and as a result ran across some asteroids or something, some kind of shards from space came raining down on its back, which is where the world is and all the characters, and that's causing monsters to appear everywhere. And well, there you go, there's your story. that is the beginning. It looks really cool. I like the way it looks. I like the idea behind it. I mean, I'm into the roguelikes. There's a lot of roguelikes coming about, and I have a bunch of them listed here as well. So it's piquing my interest. We'll see. The turn-based ones, like Dungeons of Dreadmore, I never really was it Dungeons of Dreadmore? It might have been that one. I might be saying the wrong word, but thinking something else, the wrong title. I never really got too into them because the purely turn-based ones are kind of, you know what I mean. They're a little too unforgiving sometimes. But this one, combining it with a story and stuff, it's got my attention. It did what it needed to do to get my attention. So hopefully it's something that will pan out. I'd like to really see what it looks like and get my hands on it. The stretch goals, as I mentioned, they've already past the $50,000 stretch goal, which was an endless labyrinth mode. So you can come across this labyrinth in game, and then just the idea is to see how far you can get before you get killed. With all the everything getting better and harder, much like Adventure Quest, or what the hell was it? Adventure Quest, maybe? Yes, Adventure Quest. Is that the one I played? God, all the names are escaping me now. So much like that. At 60 grand, if they hit that, which they're fairly close to that, it unlocks the Asian and Oriental weapon pack. So hey, you get to play with some katanas and sais and various other weapons of that magnitude. And then at 70 grand, if they hit that, it'll be the Asian Oriental armor set, which you can't have the weapons without the armor, man. It's just the weapons don't make the person, the armor makes the person, right? And if they make it to 80 grand, a sheep pet quest is all it says there. Basically, you can get a sheep as a companion if you go on a quest to get said sheep. So there you go. If that's all you ever wanted out of the game was a sheep companion, I've just found the game for you. So that pretty much goes through the Kickstarter updates that I have. Some of the things I'm tracking on Kickstarter. Oh, actually, now that I say that, there is one more, but it's not on Kickstarter. It's on Indiegogo. And let me get that on here. Yes. It's called Dungeon Rushers. And again, I'm talking about as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, there's a whole slew of these roguelikes coming down now. Which, if you're really into roguelikes, this is your jam right here. There's a game I ran across called Dungeon Rushers. They have an Indiegogo campaign. They're at $12,015 out of the 40 grand they need to be successful, and there's 24 days left. And this is for those of you who don't know Indiegogo. There's two different modes on Indiegogo that you can do. There's the non-fixed mode, which I don't know what they actually call it. I'm just calling it non-fixed, where you put a goal up there and everyone who contributes, you know, whatever money comes in for that goal goes to the person who set up the Indiegogo fund, right? So even if they don't hit their goal, they still get funded. There's also the traditional Kickstarter one, which is what this is using, the fixed funding model, which says that the project will not get any money unless it hits its goal. So this is one of the fixed funding ones, so they will not get any money unless they hit their 40 grand. So you might want to go over there, take a look at Dungeon Rushers. It's a 2D tactical RPG with the dungeon crawling mechanics in it. So there's no story. You just get an overworld map, and you pick whatever dungeon you want to go to, and you know, based on your level, and you just go in and you try to get to the end of that dungeon and keep on and keep it on. The twist on this, though, is it's taking a sort of a page from the Quest for Epic Loot, Mighty Quest for Epic Loot, where in that game all the dungeons, well, most of the dungeons anyway, were user generated, were user created. So you basically create your own dungeon or your own keep, as in the case of the Mighty Quest for Epic Loot. And that's where you stored all of your gold and all of your loot that you gathered from other raids. And when you go off and raid a dungeon, you are actually raiding another player's dungeon and trying to get through all their traps and everything that they've laid. And then you would take a portion of their gold when you were successful. And similarly, other players would try to go through your dungeon and get to your gold. And they're doing the same thing here with the dungeon runners. That's going to be the same thing. You create your own dungeon, and then so it's a whole multiplayer aspect of it. You create your own dungeon, and then other players play your dungeon, and they get loot out of it or not, depending on how good you are at creating your dungeon. And similarly, you go and play against other players' dungeons and try to do the same thing. It's also going to be a free-to-play game, even though they're going on Indiegogo for this like Indiegogo Kickstarter type of thing. It's going to be free-to-play, and it's going to have like the in-game sort of gold currency type of thing, but it's not. They're not doing the whole play-to-win thing, from what I can tell. So it's just going to be free-to-play, and then you get some extra little trinkets if you put money into it, that kind of thing. So skins and all that stuff. So that is something to keep your eye on as well. Hopefully they can get their funding goal, because I quite literally stumbled onto them. It's funny, you get to a certain point and people on Twitter just start randomly following you. And then as they start following you, you start to see some other posts around, and then you run across these indie devs, these indie game devs who, for these indie projects that you never heard of anywhere else in any other outlet that you go to. And you go on there and it's like, oh, they've got this Kickstarter going on, and they're looking for support, and it's like, hey, this is actually a decent game, and I'm surprised there's no fanfare around it. So this is one of those. So you might want to go, as I often say, you might want to just check it out. You don't necessarily have to give any money, but you can at least check it out and see if it's something that gets you hot and bothered. What else do I have here? I got some news, some actual news. As you've probably already heard from 5,000 other news outlets, Oculus, the makers of the Oculus Rift, that was been in development for several years, which is a VR headset specifically designed for games. They were just bought by Facebook for $2 billion. $2 billion. I'll put my pinky finger up and do a Dr. Evil there. So when I first heard it, I went, "Hey, that's not too bad." I mean, they're getting some mainstream love. But then I was like, you know what? Facebook kind of sucks. I stopped using Facebook a while ago, just because I got tired of the freaking 300. Every other day I was getting 600 requests for freaking Mafia Wars and all this other crap that I couldn't be bothered with. So eventually I just got fed up with it and I said, the hell with it. I'm done with Facebook altogether. And apparently they're losing a lot of their mind share in the younger generations as well, which is one of the theories for why they're buying up all these companies. I think they bought up Instagram too, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but yeah, they've been acquiring quite a few companies, mostly because there's this idea that perhaps they are not profitable, and I don't think they ever have been profitable, and they're looking for Plan B because Facebook is waning in its popularity. And they seem to have found it with Oculus, and Oculus has been getting a lot of press because they brought what was his name from id Software. He's a VP over there now. I should have wrote the names down. And then I also saw Michael Abrash, apparently, who was also a big game developer. I have like books of his. Like I have his big black book, which was what I learned well back in the day when I was trying to learn how to program in C and program games and all that stuff. And he apparently has joined Oculus very recently. I think that just came out. The news of that just came out yesterday. So they're pulling in all kinds of gaming industry veterans, but then this whole Facebook thing happened. It's kind of weird, and now they're alienating the very people that they were trying to market towards. Notch has already come out and said that he's not gonna deal with a Facebook fund or backed Oculus, and so Minecraft will not be getting the official VR support, although there is a fan-made mod that allows you to use the Oculus Rift for it. And Notch was one of the big backers at the beginning. Like he gave them 10 grand at the very beginning to help them get off their feet. And that also leads into the other problem, which is this was all Kickstarter backed. And there's sort of an ethical question there, right? Because you went on Kickstarter to get backing, and now you're off, you haven't even released the product yet, and you're already in a buyout situation. And that's a bit of a bitter pill, right? Because you put up money for this to fund them, to get their initial designs out there, and then they go, and before they even get an initial design out there, they've already got more a completely different direction and a completely different management, completely different organization from what you backed initially. And there's been Kickstarters out there that have said like, hey, we're doing this to get investor interest, because if we can demonstrate to our investors that we are viable, we get enough, we raise this money, then that proves that there are people who are interested in it and it's a good concept, and we want to and then we can go get investment money or VC money. So there have been some Kickstarters that have done that, but they've been very transparent about it. And to the best of my knowledge, this is the first one that I've ever seen that kind of this just came up like this, before they even had something product out. This has happened. So yeah, there's a lot of ruffled feathers. So we'll see what the coming weeks will show us, what kind of fallout there is from that. So I'm interested to see it. I personally want to use the Oculus for space combat games, because I think that would be fantastic. But at the same time, I don't know how it's going to work, because of the whole "my eyes are covered" thing. But you know, that is the way of things, the way things work, and we'll see what kind of fallout, as I mentioned, comes from that. So I think that will just about do it. We're at our 50-minute mark, so that is about the normal length of these. So as always, I think next episode we're going to head towards those crossed swords there on the map. But as always, I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.